Motion to take note of the reports of the House Committee on consideration of subsidiary legislation and other instruments. Mr. Ben Chen will move a motion under Rule 49E2 of the Rules of Procedure to take note of reports number 21, 2025 of the House Committee in relation to the Road Traffic Registration and Licensing of Vehicles Amendment number 4, Regulation 2025. I will first call upon Mr. Chen Kim-po to speak and move the motion. Then I will call upon Dr. Ben Chen, the chairman of the subcommittee formed to scrutinize the relevant subsidiary legislation, to speak, to be followed by other members. Finally, I will call upon the public officer to speak, then the debate will come to a close and the motion will not be put to vote. Members who wish to speak, please press the request to speak button. I now call upon Mr. Chen Kim-po to speak and move the motion. Thank you, President. In the capacity of the Deputy Chairman of the House Committee, in accordance with Rule 49E, Bracket 2 of the Rules of Procedure, I move the motion as printed on the agenda, so that members may discuss the road traffic Registration and Licensing of Vehicles Amendments number 4, Regulation 2025, set out in the report number 21 of the House Committee. I now propose the question to you that Mr. Chen Kim-po's motion be passed. Dr. Ben Chen. President, as the chairman of the subcommittee on the 3 pieces of subsidiary legislation relating to road, tunnel tolls, and road traffic fees, I report to the Council the work of the subcommittee concerning the Registration and Licensing of Vehicles Amendments number 4, Regulation 2025, that is CAP 374E Amendment Regulation. The amendments seek to establish a new license fee structure by amending Schedule 2 to CAP 374, so that the license fee structure is based on the rated power of electric private vehicles in place of the current structure that charges annual license fees with reference to the EV's unladen weight, and to provide license fee concessions for eligible disabled owners of electric private cars when the new annual license fee structure takes effect. Now, the members supported the tiered license fees for EPCs calculated based on rated power so as to align with the advancements of EVs, technologies, and practices in other economies. They support the administration's proposal to implement the annual license fee adjustments in 5 phases over 6 years, thereby allowing the public a longer adaptation period. However, concerning the amendments to CAP 374E, the third proposal is to add a definition of electrically powered passenger vehicle to Regulation 2. Now, some members are concerned that defining this as a private car solely propelled by an electric motor will not exclude hybrid vehicles. They suggested that the definition should be amended by adding "and without exhaust emissions after solely propelled by an electric motor," so as to forestall legal disputes arising from unclear definition. However, the administration advised that the definition of electric vehicle is the same as the other definition in CAP 374A. Now, the administration considers that defining EV as a vehicle propelled by an electric motor only is sufficient. It will also exclude any hybrid vehicles, so no amendment is made. However, the administration indicated that it will continue to pay close attention to the developments of new energy vehicles and consider whether a review of the definitions is warranted in the future. The subcommittee supports the amendments. No amendments have been proposed by the subcommittee and the administration. Now, my personal view is that the rated power is a reasonable basis. If you just calculate the unladen weight, in the future, when there are more cars using batteries, the weights of the cars will be lighter. So the calculation based on weight would be unscientific. Calculation based on rated power is similar to the emission volume of the car. Now, about the license increase of 5 paces in 6 years. Now, compared with petroleum cars, there is still a gap between the license fees for EVs and petroleum cars. It will not dampen the interest of car owners to switch to new energy vehicles. Now, concerning the future developments of new energy vehicles in the future, new energy vehicles will be more popular, and there are more and more types of energy. For example, fuel cells and other energy. Even in Hong Kong, where there is a serious shortage of chargers, hybrid mode is also a very suitable type of technology. But hybrid vehicles are treated as ordinary petroleum cars. To a certain extent, that would dampen the interest of certain owners to switch to hybrid vehicles. So with this amendment, I hope that in the next step we can reconsider whether we can offer licensing concession or exemption to hybrid vehicles to speed up our step towards the transformation. Mr. Michael Tian. President, now the government's proposed popularization of EVs in 2021. In April this year, the government proposed to significantly increase the license fee for EVs. Based on the rated power, there will be 5 levels of license fees. In 3 years' time, the license fee will reach 70 to 80% of the license fees of petrol cars. Now, the roundtable opposed to this proposal. The EEB said the goal is to encourage switch to EVs by 2035, but the TLB is working against this vision. According to the now it is fine to impose a tiered license fee structure, just like other places. It's just that the increase is too aggressive. Many EV owners told me that initially the government promised to build more chargers and impose a low license fee. After purchasing an EV several years ago, now the government is aiming for their money. They are very unhappy with this. They know the government will increase the license fee for EVs. So I suggest alternatively, we allow an exemption for existing EV owners so that the license fee will only be increased according to inflation. The new license fee should only apply to new owners of EVs. However, the government said there is no strong justification for my proposal. Now, that's very hard to palate by the existing EV owners. They think their proposal is very reasonable. Now, the roundtable thinks that if the government pulls the rug now, when there is a new initiative, no one will trust the government anymore. Now, we think that the lowest tier for petrol car is now $5,000. That's 3 times lower than the highest tier of license fee, that is $15,000. The EV license fee should also follow this structure. The first tier should be $1,100, counting into inflation, $1,300. Now, tier 5 should be 3 times of that, that's $3,300 and $3,800 in 3 years' time, counting inflation. Now, the government made a small concession to extend the period of increase from 3 years to 6 years, but the roundtable is not happy with that. We think we need to spread it out over 10 years. Now, by 2033, there will be no more newly registered petrol cars, and that would align with our timetable. So we propose to spread the increase evenly over 10 years instead of 5 years, but the government still refused, so we are disappointed. Now, the general direction is to popularize EVs. That is supported by myself and the public. We support the tier license fee structure. But the aggressive increase is against the policy intent to popularize EVs. In the future, when there are other moves to take forward your policy, I hope the government will be more mindful on whether the specific measures are contradictory to your policy intent. I so submit.
Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. Thank you, President. I'm a senior consultant of the CLP. This is the Road Traffic Registration and Licensing of Vehicles Amendment Number 4 Regulation 2025. It aims at changing the structure of the licensing fees by 5, which is in line with the international practice. I agree with that. With investment in technology, the weight of battery is lighter. The car is also lighter. Using unladen weight will not reflect the value of the vehicle. The rest of the world uses rated power. If we are to align ourselves with international practice, changing the fee structure is inevitable. However, I'm concerned the impact of the change on the popularization of EPCs. 7 out of 10 vehicles last year registered is an electric vehicle. As at the end of 2025, we have about 128,000 electric vehicles, about 14.3% of the total number of vehicles in Hong Kong. That is quite an achievement, a result of the government's measures rolled out over the years. The government appealed to the public to change to e-vehicles, but at the same time they increase the license fees. This will slow down the pace of popularization. In the deliberation, I asked the administration to consider allowing existing car owners to use the existing structure. And at the same time, there should be additional measures to encourage drivers to switch to e-vehicles. Well, the proposal is changing the structure by five tiers, which is still lower than the licensing fees for traditional fueled vehicles by about 25 to 40%. And e-vehicles saves fuel by about 90%, so they are still rather attractive. Changing the fee structure still maintains enough incentive for drivers to use e-vehicles. However, there is still a difference of about 6 times of difference in fees. That is a fact. Within a very short time, it will be very difficult to help change the minds of car owners. I asked the administration to regularly assess the impact of the adjustment of fees on the popularization of e-vehicles. We don't want to dampen the progress. Additional resources should be put in to improve the charging network so that it will be an incentive for drivers to switch to e-vehicle. I am happy to hear that the government will put $300 million to increase the number of charging points by 3,000. They will be commissioned at the end of between 2026 and 2028. However, as at the 1st of September, there are only 50 that have received the relevant permit. I asked the government to assess the distribution of these charging points to meet the needs of the people. I asked the government not to be too laid back. Action should be taken so that the policy will be implemented. I asked the administration to take into account the technological advancements and review the licensing fees structure. I thank the government for taking into account public aspiration the adjustments is spread now over to five phases over 6 years, so that drivers will have a longer period of time to adapt, I so speak. Mr. Michael Look. This is the Road Traffic Registration and Licensing of Vehicles Amendment Number 4, Regulation 2025. I'm also an owner of e-vehicle. In relation to the increase in licensing fees, I feel the pinch. I've had discussions with fellow owners. They feel the same. But they understand where the administration come from. At the same time, the administration has taken on board public aspiration by extending the period of increase to 5 years. It will increase from the 1st of November this year from $1,500 to $5,000 all the way to the 1st of March 2030, starting from 3,000 to 11,000. Most of the vehicles belong to the lower tiers, and the unit is now based on the fees is now based on rated power instead of the unladen weight. This reflects technological advancement. The TLB has given 3 justifications. First, the size of vehicles and the weight of batteries have changed. Using unladen weight is outdated. A number of overseas jurisdictions use rated power as a basis to set the fees. I do agree that using rated power as a unit will be better. In Hong Kong, if you own a vehicle, that means you have better means. Using the adjustment in fees to get them to share part of the cost of using road capacity is fair. Still, there is still about a 30% concession if you use an electric vehicle compared to other types of vehicles. I don't think it will dampen the desire to switch to e-vehicles. That still accounts for about 70% of newly registered vehicles. I have some comments to make. Some people say that, it will disrupt the plans for drivers to switch to e-vehicles. But the government said that, of course, there's always the case that there will be preferential treatment at the beginning. There will be adjustments in the future that will have to be taken into account. And still, there is a 30% of buyers of vehicles who refuse to switch to e-vehicles. What are the reasons? Well, if you have charging facilities near where you work or live, then you will switch because e-vehicles are cheaper, fuel's cheaper. In Hong Kong, electricity tariff is quite cheap. And it's easy to use e-vehicles. Still, 30% of owners refuse to switch to e-vehicles. I think the government should step up support. This will bring in additional revenue, about $1.9 billion over 5 years. Well, every year, it will increase the revenue by about $860 million. Perhaps part of it can be plowed back to the improvement of a charging network. The charging network in residential complex subsidy scheme should be maintained. Then perhaps in the future there will be similar schemes to make it easier to use electric vehicles. Thank you. Mr. Frankie Yik. Technology for car batteries has been improving. The size of e-vehicles is shrinking. The weight of batteries is getting lighter by about 15 to 20%. However, the cost has increased by about 20 to 30%. And the range is also increasing. The current fee does not reflect the actual capability of the vehicles. As a result, the government proposes to use the basis of fees from rated power. We think that this is in line with international practice. According to information from the administration, under the new structure, the majority of license of fees for majority of vehicles is still lower. And this will be increased over 5 phases, in 5 phases over 6 years, all the way to 2030. I do think that it will not dampen the popularization of e-vehicles. The government has, in this regard, put in place a number of incentivizing measures, tax concessions, 1-for-1 replacement scheme. These schemes will end on the 31st of March next year. I hope that these two measures will be extended in a bid to help achieve a carbon zero city in Hong Kong. Well, there may be some inadequacies in passenger carrying vehicles. I have some suggestions. The current definition is vehicles are propelled by an engine. It's rather vague because there are different types of fuels. For hybrid vehicles, some uses the electricity engine, and once it's started, then it runs on the e-battery. There is another type that operates in a similar way, and it will be charged by rapid charge. The third one is propelled by the electric engine. It's like there is a generator inside the car charging the battery. Under the current interpretation, the vehicle should be defined as electric vehicles, but because of the small engine used to generate power, there is still exhaustion. So in addition to motors, if there is no exhaustion, then it can be defined as 100% electric vehicle. The current interpretation is in line with other provisions in 374E. That means electric vehicles is powered by electric motors. Currently, the government is not considering any amendments so that this regulation can be passed before the end of this term of LegCo. I agree with that. I suggest to the government that in the next legislative year, relevant legislation should be reviewed as, if necessary, move amendments.
Does any other member wish to speak? If not, I now call upon the public officer to speak, then the debate will come to a close. Secretary for Transport and Logistics. President, I thank Mr. Chen Kim-po for moving the motion on road traffic registration and licensing of vehicles amendment number 4, Regulation 2025 in accordance with Rule 49E2 of the Rules of Procedure. I also thank the members who have spoken. I'm grateful to LegCo for forming a subcommittee chaired by Dr. Ben Chen. Dr. Chen and other members of the subcommittee shared many valuable views that enabled us to complete the scrutiny at speed and pass the amendment. Currently, license fees for electric private cars or EPCs are charged based on the vehicle's unladen weight. Advances in electric vehicle technology have produced lighter and smaller batteries. This means EVs of similar weight can achieve ever higher performance. Charging license fees solely based on the unladen weight is no longer appropriate and may not fully reflect the value of EPCs. Indeed, the current license fee of fuel-propelled cars is 7 times as high as that for EPCs in Hong Kong. After consultation with the Environment and Ecology Bureau, we see the need to adjust the fee structure for EPCs. This change involves charging license fees based on rated power, an approach in line with technological advancements and practices elsewhere while maintaining incentives for motorists to switch to EVs. Just then, some members expressed concern over the increase in the license fees for EPCs, suggesting it may dampen owners' desire to switch to EVs. Some proposed exempting existing EV owners from paying based on the new annual license fee structure. In formulating this amendment, the government has carefully balanced the policy objective of continuing to promote eco-friendly vehicles with the need for owners to gradually adapt to the new ALF structure. Taking into account the license fee structure for fuel-propelled private cars, this amendment sets out 5 tiers for the license fees of EPCs based on their rated power. The fee at each tier is set below the equivalent for fuel-propelled private cars. After consulting the panel on transport and duly considering their views, the government has also refined the license fee adjustment. The new fees will be implemented over a longer period, from 3 phases to 5, over 6 years. This will give the public more time to adapt to the new arrangement. I am grateful to the subcommittee for supporting our revised proposal. When the final phase takes effect on the 1st of March 2030, the license fee for EPCs will remain 25% lower than that for fuel-propelled vehicles on the 5th tier. On the first tier, the fee will be 40% lower than that for fuel-propelled cars. We can compare the popular model of a fuel-propelled car on the market with a Tier 2 EV with the same horsepower. The license fee of the fuel-propelled car will be $7,300, while the new license fee of the EPC will be just $5,000 by 2030. Moreover, a growing number of affordable EVs, especially those of mainland brands, are entering the market. The energy costs for EVs amount to only about 11% of those for fuel-propelled cars. Maintenance costs, therefore, for EVs are generally lower. Insurance premiums for EVs are also expected to fall in the long term as the market share of EV grows, technology advances, and the risk pool expands. For these reasons, we see enough incentives for motorists to switch to EVs. As the license fees are charged annually, the new fee structure will apply to all renewals and new registrations of EPCs. The government has extended the transitional period from 3 to 6 years, with the change to take effect in phases. This is to ease the burden on vehicle owners and give them enough time to adapt. The new license fee structure will take effect on the 1st of November this year for newly registered EPCs, while existing EPCs will enjoy a 4-month grace period. We have considered the average service life of existing EVs. By the final phase of adjustments in 2030, most existing EVs will approach the end of their service life. Therefore, it is reasonable to fully implement the new fees at that time. Just then, Mr. Chen Xiu-hong and Mr. Michael Lok expressed a concern. The government responded to comment about the fees. We offered a balanced proposal. They also argued that to keep promoting EVs, there's a need for the government to step up support for EVs. On this front, the Environment and Ecology Bureau is taking a multi-pronged approach to actively expand the charging network. To make it easier for EV drivers So a few measures are available. First, gross floor area exemption to encourage building charging infrastructure in the parking spaces of private buildings. And second, subsidy schemes for installing charging infrastructure or retrofitting such infrastructure in the parking spaces of private residential blocks and housing estates. The government also provides operators of petroleum filling stations with incentives by encouraging the retrofitting of EV chargers at PFSs when renewing PFS leases. The government has also announced the launch of a new scheme worth $300 million to encourage private organizations to install fast chargers. The goal is to install an extra 3,000 fast chargers in total by 2030 to support an additional 160,000 EVs in meeting their charging needs. I understand that members are just as anxious as we are to see progress, so we will proceed at pace in installing chargers, and we're happy to work with the EEB. We will step up effort on getting the private sector involved on our effort. Mr. Frankie Yik highlighted a point, and that was the definition of electrically powered passenger vehicles. He stressed the need to avoid confusion with plug-in hybrid private cars and the applicable license fees. We have worked with the Environment and Ecology Bureau and the Department of Justice on this. We consider the consistency of this definition with the provisions under the existing Road Traffic Ordinance Cap 374. We believe this definition is clear enough in delineating EVs and excluding hybrid cars from the scope of EVs. Therefore, owners of hybrid cars will continue to pay license fees equivalent to those for fuel-propelled cars under the existing arrangement. Specifically, the definition of speed limiter under the Road Traffic Construction and Maintenance of Vehicles Regulations Cap 374A describes a fuel-propelled vehicle as a motor vehicle propelled by an internal combustion engine only. A hybrid vehicle, on the other hand, is a vehicle capable of being propelled by both an internal combustion engine and an electrical motor, either in combination or separately. An EV, in contrast, is a vehicle propelled by an electric motor only. This shows that current provisions clearly distinguish between hybrid and electric cars. On vehicle registration and licensing, the government believes that the term private cars powered by electric motors only clearly conveys the consistent principle that the definition of electrically powered passenger vehicles excludes all types of hybrid private cars. We understand that the industry and car owners would like greater clarity. For that reason, the Transport Department will provide clear guidance on the relevant license fee guidelines to make sure that everyone has a clear idea about the scope of the new fees. The government will continue to monitor development in new energy vehicles that will cover engines, other parts and components. Those technologies move at breakneck speed. When needed, we will review the definitions to keep up with the changing times. President, once again, I thank members for their valuable views on the amendment regulation. We will consider each comment with care. Before the new regulation takes effect, the TD will brief vehicle owners, drivers, and the public on the new fee structure by various publicity channels to ensure the smooth implementation of the new rules. In addition, on behalf of the TLB and the EEB, I want to say this again. On promoting new energy vehicles and decarbonization, we are committed to these goals and we will keep working on this at Seoul Summit. Thank you, President. In accordance with Rule 49E9 of the Rules of Procedure, I will not put any question on the motion. I now adjourn the Council until 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 22nd of October, 2025.